The Executive Director for the Olmsted Linear Park Alliance. The Olmsted Linear Park Alliance is the 501c3 charitable nonprofit that maintains and manages the Olmsted Linear Park here in the Druid Hills neighborhood. The mission of Olmsted Linear Park Alliance is to preserve and protect the Olmsted Linear Park. Here in Deepdene, we are working to preserve the ecosystem and the vast wildlife habitat that exists within this environment. The Deepdene Forest is a 22-acre old growth forest. It is part of the Olmsted Linear Park. The Olmsted Linear Park is a 6-segment pastoral, green space, and old growth forest. The Olmsted Linear Park and the Druid Hills neighborhood in which it lies was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted Sr., father of landscape architecture. In the late 1890s, Joel Hurt, an Atlanta businessman, owned this property and contracted Olmsted to design what we know today as the Druid Hills neighborhood and the Olmsted Linear Park. What makes this park so special and unique is that it was designed within a neighborhood as one conceptual plan. It wasn't, let's design a neighborhood and, oh yeah, let's put a park in. It was, the neighborhood was designed around the park. And so Deepdene is home to a vast array of wildlife habitat, native plant species. We have trails, we have a water feature, the streams that the kids can play in, dogs can frolic around in. And we have 2 mead areas on each end of Deepdene, and one mead area on the east end is where the kids play soccer. Park visitors will have picnics or walk their dogs, play with their kids, and it's just a wonderful feature to hear. It's an urban oasis right here in the middle of Atlanta, which makes it just a very special and unique place. So in 2016, I had the good fortune to meet the former executive director of the Atlanta Audubon Society, now Georgia Audubon Society, and the director of conservation, Adam Betchwell. They were in the process of filing for a National Fish and Wildlife Federation grant to restore natural habitats and certify them as wildlife sanctuaries. The restoration process involved removing invasive plant species and planting native ones. It also involved helping the existing native plants that we had re-emerge and thrive. It was an amazing process. I mean, once we cleared out the English ivy, we cleaned out the privet and the cherry laurel, all these beautiful wild gingers and trilliums just popped into place.
So I'm Walter Bland, and I have a small habitat restoration practice here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we've been working for the Olmsted Linear Park Alliance for a number of years now. We've spent a lot of time here in Deepdene working in this beautiful forest. It's a typical urban forest park with some really spectacular, beautiful canopy trees and a really good understory. But it also has several problems, many problems that you find everywhere in urban forests in the southeast. Problems such as privet, ivy, bush honeysuckle, Elaeagnus, liriope. And we've been working on trying to eradicate those species from the forest in order to preserve the forest and enhance it for wildlife and birds in particular. So this area right here is an area where we've done quite a bit of work. This area used to be completely covered in English ivy and liriope and privet and bush honeysuckle, and we've gotten most of it out of the way in this area. We still have some small problems here and there that we want to get to, but when I first came to this area, there was just a solid blanket of English ivy on these slopes, and the problem with that is that it really undermines the health of these majestic trees that we have here. When you have infestations of invasive species that are as significant as this, you typically have to use some pretty aggressive tactics in order to get ahead of the game. And so we do use a lot of herbicides in this area. The herbicides are applied at a very specific time period and in a very specific way that just targets the undesirable species and doesn't hurt the desirable vegetation.
Okay, so one of the unique aspects of Deepdene is its lush tree canopy. And one of my favorite trees in Deepdene is this white oak that dates back over 250 years old. It is an incredible white oak. It's beautiful, and it's just an icon of the Deepdene forest.
So this is a good example of the benefits of doing restoration in an urban forest. This is an area that we cleared of English ivy, and once we cleared it, we released this plant, which is sweet shrub, and all of these little sweet shrub seedlings are now coming out of the ground now that we've removed the English ivy. And this is the species that we want to grow here and that will grow naturally in this environment.
Partnerships are vital to the success of the Deepdene restoration. We could not have done this without the Audubon Society and our volunteers, and the volunteers that the Audubon Society brought to us. We needed that multi-pronged approach where you have expertise, volunteerism, you have commitment, dedication. All of these things come together to help us remove the invasives from the forest so that the forest can thrive, continue to offer this beautiful green space for not just visitors today, but for generations to come. So working in Deepdene, you have the pleasure of working among some of the most diverse wildlife. And it's been kind of fun to see how they interact with us as volunteers when we're working in Deepdene. The red salamander, that was so exciting to see. It really shows how diverse and healthy our ecosystem here is in the forest. There was also this pileated woodpecker that did not want his picture taken, nor did he want you watching him, because every time you would go around the tree to try to get a really good shot, he would continue to walk around the tree, and that was kind of exciting. If I were to give a piece of advice to someone else who is embarking on this journey, I would say that involve your community. Make sure that you involve your elected officials, actually, because they really love projects like this, and they will advertise, they will, put it out on social media so that you can get volunteers. So, and if you have a board, or if you have a board of advisors, or however your organization is structured, make sure that there's the buy-in for that, and that you have some skin in the game. Make sure that they not only put in their time, but their resources and just involve the community, because the community loves to invest in projects like this, and make it, you know, there's all kinds of citizen science events that you can host and get the children involved, because when you get your children, you get the parents, and that's key. But collaboration, partnerships with other organizations such as the Georgia Audubon Society and other organizations that love to restore wildlife habitats.
So individuals can have a really significant impact on the improvement of the natural environment, particularly in the places where they live, in their own backyards and front yards. There's a person who wrote a really important book called Doug Tallamy, and the title of the book is Bringing Nature Home. And what he tells you is if you will just go out into your yard and put a piece of your yard back into its natural state, it has a tremendous impact on bird populations, insect populations, and other natural factors in the environment. So every little bit that people can do is important. And it's real easy for homeowners to make those kinds of improvements. You can do simple things like just simply reduce the size of your lawn by a couple of feet and put the edge of the lawn back into leaf litter or mulch. You can add trees and shrubs to your yard and attract birds that feed off of the berries and pollinators that use the blooms for that. It's not hard to remove invasive species like English ivy or privet. It does take a lot of time and it takes a lot of sweat, but you're making a really significant improvement when you do that.